Welcome to Amplify. I'm your host, Candice Dormon. On this show, we shine a light on people making moves, grinding, hustling, and being excellent because it's 2020 and there are still a lot of first and onlys across almost every industry. So let's dig in. Our guests today are a husband and wife power duo from upstate New York. They have devoted their lives and careers to public service and care deeply for the people and communities that raised them. Recently, they have become the new owners of Chipmunk Coffee, a family-owned coffee shop with a community service mission located in the heart of Schenectady, New York. With a son on the way, they are setting roots for the future and using their business to make a difference for families and children beyond their own. Aussie and Chenique, welcome to Amplify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm so glad that you're here.
Happy to be here.
How are you guys doing? How are you feeling?
Good.
Yeah.
Little man's almost here.
Say that again.
Little man's almost here.
I know. Chenique, tell us how you're feeling. The Aussie keeps talking about little man is on the way. Are you? How close? How close are we?
So less than a week. It could be really any day now. So excited, but definitely feeling it.
Yes. This is the point where you get into like a deep waddle and you look at things that you drop on the floor and you're just like, it's not worth it. Like it's dead to me, whatever it is. I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you guys are here. I have been drinking Chipmunk coffee for the last several weeks and I'm obsessed. So I can't wait to hear more about the story behind it. So let's just jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you guys, how long you've been married, how you met. Tell us about you.
So we met about 6.5 years ago. We met in Albany, actually at a bar. Aussie came up to me and approached me. So the rest is kind of history. It's interesting, actually, now that we do own a coffee shop, because our first date was actually at a coffee shop the day after we met. So it has a little significance there as well.
That's awesome. I love that. That's like providence and serendipity, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And we've been married for 2 years and some change.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm so happy to see. I went to school with Aussie, and so I'm just so happy to see him happy. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for this new journey for you guys. So why don't you tell us about Chipmunk Coffee and how you got started with this new business?
Okay. So when we found out we were pregnant, I started thinking about, providing and supporting our family, and I thought buying a business would be a good idea. We went with an established one that had a built-in customer base. We thought that would be smarter rather than trying to build something up from scratch. And just purchase a turnkey business and then just build on the successes of the previous owner. And we found this coffee shop that's right next to some New York State offices, built-in clientele. And we just fell in love with the shop and the owners and decided to go forward with it.
I love that. I love that you're like, oh, we're going to have a brand new person in our house. Why don't we take on a whole new business that we've never done before? That's so on brand for you, Aussie.
It is.
I thought he was a little crazy, but yeah.
And then you just roll with it. I think that's how we've all learned to be friends with Aussies, that you just roll with it because it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It's a fun ride.
It's a fun ride. So you found this business that already was already operating. Were they ready to sell? Were they retiring? Did you approach them or like, dude, are you sure you want to stay? Are you ready to go?
They've been trying to sell for a while. It was owned by a Turkish family from the Mediterranean, and the wife hated the winters. The Mediterranean blood was fed up with it, so they decided to put the business on the market. It was on there for about a year, and to try to relocate their family. And so when we made the deal happen, they made the move.
I like it. And have you ever owned a business like this before? Was this a brand new entrepreneurial journey for you guys?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We own a rental property. We also, I DJ'd in college. I don't know if that counts. But other than that, I've never done anything like this.
I love it. And And how did you decide on a storefront? Like, are you still in medical school? Did you finish school? Like,
What's that?
Did you finish school? Aren't you in school, or we're finishing school?
yeah, still in school. So yeah, medical school was taking a very long time. I tragically lost both my parents during this journey, and taking a break halfway through medical school. I did well on my boards and got my blessing from the dean to transfer to Howard Medical School. I still have to apply, but when I spoke with admissions, everything seemed to be going well. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And they told me to hold off until next year. The dean wrote me personally and said that the next year everything should be fine. So I said, well, I've got to provide for this little one still, so let's make this happen.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's what we're doing.
And what about you, Chenique? What's your background? What's your professional background?
Yes, I'm a social worker. So I primarily teach right now. So I teach at the college level at a private college, actually that I went to for undergrad. And then I also do counseling all across the lifespan. So my youngest was 5 and oldest up to 65, but up to any age. So yeah, both the clinical and the teaching background in social work.
I like this. I just have these like visions of you doing meetings in your own coffee shop, right? Like, how cool is that?
Okay.
I really like that. So I had this idea as like, I wanted to know about how you went about purchasing this business. Did you have to buy the building? Did you have to take out a loan? Like, when someone is thinking about doing this sort of thing, what are the suggestions you would give to them on how to approach a business opportunity like this?
Okay, I'll take this one. So I started searching for businesses that had seller financing options, and we secured a partial down payment through our own savings and through 2 loans through a couple other banks. Basically, I just went around shopping for loans, went to a handful of banks, applied online to different sources. We ended up getting one through, I think, Lending Tree led me to one, or no, Credit Karma led me to one bank that we got a loan from. And then Upstart Financial, which is another place. It's like a startup company in Silicon Valley that does lending based on other variables like education, their job. Like they use other variables to determine creditworthiness, which is helpful. So they gave us the last push that we needed, and then we got the seller to finance the rest. And thanks to COVID, we got the COVID interest rate, 3.25% on that. So that's it. And we did it.
That is so, I mean, the thing that strikes me is that we're in the middle of a global pandemic and everybody is like crazy, right? Like, but still there's opportunity, right? Like, I know that a lot of people are struggling, and I know that the country as a whole is struggling, but I'm really happy to see that, like, I know people who started new jobs, right? And starting new businesses and getting, there's still good signs happening that there's still movement, right? And that is not at all to downplay the sort of hurt and suffering that is happening for families that have been hit hard by the pandemic. But I think it is really a shining light, or like a positive thing for the rest of us to see that you can go out and get a new job, you can get a business loan, you can start a new business. You just have to really grind and push for it.
One of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou is, "Every storm runs out of rain." This too soon shall pass is another quote that my mother would say.
Yeah, my mom says nothing, although my mom says nothing really, really good or really, really bad lasts really, really long. So there's always a turn coming, which is her way of saying, like, temper yourself, like, oh, that's good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Now,
they wrote it into the contract that we wouldn't be on the hook for the bills until like the mall opened up with Stockings. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, but the country needs for, you know, the economy needs for people to go to work if they can, and so if they can put in those sorts of incentives to make it so that it's possible, then that's what they should be doing. Stimulus. So now my favorite part, because I'm obsessed with coffee. I've probably been drinking coffee since junior high school. How did you go about sourcing the coffee? Did the coffee come with the shop, or have you guys taken it on yourself to sort of look into what the coffee options would be?
Okay. So the main supplier for the coffee for the shop is already established. They had a long relationship with them. It's a roaster that's been in business since the 70s. It's local and respected and has really good prices and really good service. They also provide the machines in the shop, the least the espresso machine and the coffee maker. So I just went with that since it had already been set up. And if I had changed it, then I would have had to change the equipment too, because they have in their contract that you can only run their coffee through their machines. So just took the path of least resistance there.
Right.
I also really wanted to carry fair trade coffee and offer that, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart, practicing sustainable agriculture and respecting indigenous communities and economies and making sure that they aren't left out and exploited. So that's one thing that's very important. So I found, actually through mutual friends, our Airbnb guest that we had a while ago was actually dating a coffee roaster's brother. And I found that out just in conversation, and he's great. He cares deeply for the communities that he works with. He goes down there in person and visits them, and the part of the profits goes towards education, healthcare, and women empowerment in Guatemala. So that was something that we wanted to keep part of our mission.
I really like that. I think that people have been talking about fair trade for so long that it sometimes feels to me like a throwaway line, just like like organic, right? Like you know what I mean, or healthy, or health food, or whatever. But to hear what fair trade actually means, right? It means that you're, like you said, they're taking into consideration and working with the local indigenous people, so that they're not being left out. I think that matters, and right. I like to hear that, as opposed to just like the hipster way of just slapping it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like, and again, that's not anything against hipsters, but I just feel like sometimes we get divorced from what the word is and what it actually means, and that there are actual people behind this. My family's from Belize in Central America. Like it's a thing. It matters. It really, really matters. So I'm glad to hear it. And then why don't you talk a little bit? You guys have some retail stuff going. How are you doing? How do you decide what kinds of things you're going to carry? Can you tell us a little bit about how you make those sorts of decisions?
So far, we have an online store where we offer the tumblers, which are like coffee thermoses, and we have our coffee brands, the house blend, and then the fair trade blend. We're going to offer more products in the future, like tea, mugs, things like that. We actually just got started with this. We've opened Saturday, so
I love it.
Yeah, so there's definitely gonna be some more offerings, but we just we talk to our customers, we talk to our staff, and take our cues from them. Really, whatever suggestions they have.
All right, so you're a weekend. No, you're not even a full
3 days.
Weekend. You're like 3 days. Yeah. Tell us how those first few days are going. Like, what did it feel like on that first day when we opened? And I think about as a business owner, the first day your customer comes, or the first day the door opens and someone actually buys something. Tell us a little bit about what that felt like and how the day went.
Yeah, definitely get some jitters.
But exciting. It was exciting.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting, and we had a lot of friends come out and support too, which is good.
And are you having to do anything? I haven't been inside of a coffee shop in a while. Are you allowing people to stay inside, or is it takeout only?
Most of the business is takeout. Some people do sit down, but we make sure that they're spread out. We spread the chairs and tables out every morning.
That's good. I like that. I mean, I think that what does it look like in New York? How are you guys doing? Are you on, I mean, in upstate New York, right? Not everywhere is.
So, New York, Massachusetts, and I believe Vermont, or which one of those are the only 3 states that are trending downward for COVID. So it's looking good. As far as I know, New York City hasn't had a death in a while from COVID. So we're doing our part, but other states are not, and that's where the danger is. So.
Yeah, and our location, our shop is located in a mall. So malls actually fell on. We have 4 stages, so we're beyond the 4th stage. So there was a few back and forths regarding when we could open. So we were kind of anticipating, and then kind of having some letdowns of when we'd be able to open exactly. So we were able to open right beyond stage 4 after malls were required to install a special air filtration system, and then we've stepped up the sanitation as we would anyway, but then additional safety precautions that we've taken as well.
Well, that's good. I didn't even think about that. All the things. I'm so glad that there are people out there who are thinking about those things, because otherwise, you don't. I thought about the air filtration system. I was going to ask you about your roles, your everyday roles in the business. Are you there making coffee? Are you like bookkeeping? How have you guys split up the roles for you, the 2 of you, as the owners of the coffee shop?
Okay. I hired a manager to take care of the day-to-day duties. So I've been training him alongside the previous owner. He's been training him as well to take over just all the tasks and things to keep the shop running. And under him, we'll have 2 and possibly 3 employees. But in the first few days, I've been there to make sure everything's running smoothly and just showing my face and introducing myself. And my wife was there too this weekend, just letting know the new owners but yeah, on a day-to-day basis, it's going to be ran by the manager, especially since we have this little boy coming on the way. I'll be back to being a full-time student very soon. So
yeah, I mean, you have parental leave, and maternity leave coming up right around the corner. So it's good to have some things set in place. Do you have, or did the other owners leave behind a manual, or like how are you managing employees and processes for how you decide what it's gonna feel like at Chipmunk Coffee?
Yeah, he trained us for about a week, and I went in and worked with him and talked to him and learned from him all that I could. And also, my manager was there, and he's always available if we have questions as well. Even though they're in Florida, he made himself available, so he's very helpful in guiding us and advising us along the way.
Yeah, and I've been pretty hands off, but Ossie's done a lot of work with looking into different streamlining systems and different types of software just to make sure that the process runs a bit more smoothly.
Yeah, I put a lot of work and research into good systems to make sure they're in place. I put, that front end planning is very important.
Yeah, there's a show that James and I used to watch. The guy's name is John Henry, and he did an interview with donut shop owners, and the reason why I was asking it is that he had it was really important to him that when the owners are not there, like there was a vibe when the owners were there, and then when the owners were not there was a different vibe. You know what I mean? And it was like figuring out how you transfer the vibe that is that everybody is used to the people who are there when you're not going to be there. But I think this is a little bit different from you guys because you're all learning at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're actually trying to figure out how to make I would guess that you're trying to figure out how to make a transition from the old owners to like this new guard.
Yeah.
What things you're going to keep and what things you're going to let go of. Are there some things clearly that you can see from the old guard that you are definitely going to keep for Chipmunk Coffee?
His attention to detail and to customer service. He's a perfectionist, and he really loves his customers and makes an effort to learn their names and their stories, and so that's probably what I would keep for sure and build on that.
Right.
Make it part of culture.
Yeah, which is amazing because it's in a mall, right? I don't think of that kind of like close community tie in a mall setting. That feels more of like a bodega or like a shop down the street from your house kind of thing. So the fact that he can, that you guys feel that inside of a mall setting where everything's sort of bustling. You know what I mean?
For the 700 New York State employees that for the tax office that are in are the regulars.
So there's some regulars. And then how long would you say the process has been from the time you decided that you were going to buy Chipmunk coffee until Saturday? How long has that process been?
3-4 months.
How many?
Probably 4 months, maybe 3-4 months.
Yeah. I would say 3 months.
March to July.
Yeah, especially since settling on this specific business. I mean, the seed was planted before then, and Aussie was looking at other types of businesses, and then we settled onto the.
So like legit during pandemic, you guys were this place.
This close to buying a bar, but then not doing
Well, it's
that.
a good thing you did it. Like, how lucky are you? And so during that time, what are like one or two lessons learned that are definitely you would know better for next time? Like if you were going into this, or if you were giving suggestions to someone else who was just starting on this, I want to buy a business.
It's tough to say since we've only really been open 3 days.
No, I'm talking more about the process to opening, right? Like what is one thing that you might have changed the way that you did it or the way that you handled or approached it just in the lead up to opening?
These are such unprecedented times too, so it's really hard to pin down, I guess, the comparison between like how this normally would and should operate. I mean, this was far from smooth and best case scenario, given our public health crisis.
Right. So basically, if you can do it now, you can do it anytime.
Yeah.
You can make it now. And then as we close, can you talk to me a little bit about the community service background that you guys and the community service connections that you have with the coffee shop?
Yes.
Yeah. So as I stated, I'm a social worker, so I have a lot of community connections. In my full-time role as a professor, I set up field placements, so I'm constantly networking in the social work community. So building on those connections that I've already established in my other roles, and it's important to both of us to give back to the community. So that was something that we talked about, from day one of deciding to open up a business, that we wanted to do things a bit differently and make sure we're giving back to the community and that we're connected to the community, to the local community. So just in talking about different organizations that have missions that are near and dear to our heart, we settled on 2. So the first one is Alex's Way, and that is a transitional short-term daycare service that is actually being built in honor of one of my near and dear friends who passed away tragically last year. So there's been just so much. She was also a fellow social worker, just very community-oriented, just always striving towards change and bettering the world. So just a mission that's very, very near and dear to us. They've done such great work in working with one of the local shelters and shelters and beyond. This Skylar Inn is really working towards being a one-stop shop for families who are struggling in our local communities. So that was just a given that we wanted to help with that. They're very close to opening the doors. It's really exciting. They're doing a lot of really great work. So we met up with them and talked about the potential opportunities. So we have that connection. And then the second one is an organization called Things of My Very Own. So this is another organization that I've been connected with, and again, in my other roles, starting out in the field of social work. I started out in child welfare work. So this agency works to really help children and families in transition in times of crisis, help them feel more comfortable. So when we're talking about children who are entering the foster care system, really the goal is to keep children with their families. So with families in a safe environment. So it's really crisis intervention, looking to see what they can put into place so the families can stay together, so a family can go, or so the child can go to another safe relative. So some of those more tangible objects that we take for granted in our everyday life, just being able to supply those things to children. They do a lot of great programming in the community. So again, yeah, both of these organizations are just have missions that are just very much in line with our personal interests, our personal passions, and they're just both really great, doing great things in the community.
I love that. It's really nice when you can connect those two things, right? Something that I've been talking to my own sister and saying that like things can be fun and bring funds, right? And so you can have this business that you are going to have fun with, but it's also going to bring funds that are not just for you but for others. So it's nice to marry things that you'd like to do with ways to help others and yourself included. So I'm really proud of you guys. I'm really excited for the future. Like there's so much like unknown. It's like a jittery but fun, but like you just gotta roll with it, right? Or else you might be scared because there's so many things going on. But I'm really proud of you guys for taking this lead and not putting a pin in it right now, right? Because it would have been really easy to do that in March when everything was falling apart. So definitely kudos to you guys, and I wish you every success. And when you have something to share, I hope that you'll come back on the show and share it with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
How can people find you if they're not in Schenectady? I'm not coming to Schenectady, but how can people find you if they want to support Chipmunk Coffee, support the organizations that you support?
Our website, chipmunkcoffee.com. Everything, all the information will be there. They can. One program we'll actually be launching this week is donations of coffee and pastries to healthcare workers. We're going to start making deliveries to hospitals and stuff. So anyone in the world can sign on and pay to have a box of coffee and pastries sent to take care of a team of workers in the local area. So
that's awesome. I really love that. So sign on to chipmunkcoffee.com if you'd like to support, or if you want to get some and
coffee to you too.
Absolutely. So guys, until next time, thanks